Hey everybody, we're back with another feedback session. Today we have something a little different. Ronald from the Discord submitted his reel for us to look at. So let's watch it once through and then we can talk about it.
What, you think you just tattoo my initial on your hand and that's it? Job done.
Laz, please. Everything I'm trying to do, okay, it is for us.
There is no us if you keep shutting me out!
So what's the story behind this?
That's a gift that I got from my ex-girlfriend.
Awesome. So a couple things. Let's just talk overall first. I think this is a really strong reel. A lot of times what I look for in a reel, at least for a feature lighting position, is that both overall shot composition and value structure, as well as specifically character lighting. And I think if you've done a good job showing that, the length of it, it's 122, is good. I think you definitely don't want to go, I would say, over 2 minutes. People just don't have a lot of time to look at a lot of reels, and generally you can tell by the minute mark whether it's you're interested in the work or not. So I think that 122 is a good amount of time for this, and the amount of pieces in there I think is good. You just want to make sure that you have all of your strongest stuff in there, and then you'll be judged on whatever piece is the least strong. So I think it's just important to make sure that only the good stuff is in here. So you've done a great job with this. I think in terms of the order of clips, this is just my opinion. In my opinion, I think your environment work, these two pieces, this piece and this tree piece, are your more kind of eye-catching, stronger works. And I think the reason for that is, I think this is what a lot of people fall into as students. Obviously you don't have all the time in the world, and you're not going to be great at every single part of the pipeline. So I think a difference between these animated pieces, which are great, and then these still pieces, are that you don't have the materials, you don't have the look dev in these pieces that you do in these pieces. And I think that goes a long way, because on an animated project or VFX even, it's a huge team, and you're gonna get really great materials and textures from the asset departments, and that goes a long way for lighting, right? Imagine you're trying to light a scene but everything's made of plastic. You're not going to get as great of an image if that's the case. So I would say, in my opinion, for order, I would put one of these environment pieces at the very beginning, because these are really good. I really like the way these are lit. So I would put maybe one of them at the beginning, which I would say the strongest piece in general should be at the very beginning, just to start things off well, and then the second strongest piece should be at the end, in my opinion. So I might put one of these at the end and one of these at the beginning, just to really sandwich between a lot of these really strong pieces. Not to say that the other pieces aren't strong. It's just, like I was saying, the material work. So getting into that a little bit more, you know, obviously it's a different department, and you won't be expected in a lot of jobs to do both look dev and lighting. But obviously, I think, you know, from a viewer's point of view, it does make a difference on the overall, you know, shot, what we think about the shot. So I would say, you know, if you have some time, maybe look into updating some of these materials just to get the light response a little bit different. You know, like, I can see it's different on his shirt and his pants, but, you know, I think especially for something like this, where the shirt feels kind of the same as the skin, and then the couch, you know, it's all feels kind of samey in terms of material wise. You might want to go in there and, to the best of your ability, sort of make these materials feel a little more true, and that might help. You know, you're not doing anything else to your lighting, but it might help the overall strength of the image, which I think is important. In terms of the lighting, let's look at these pieces one by one. Oh, actually, one thing that I forgot to mention, these titles, you know, might be a small thing, but for me, I would rather the image be a little bit smaller and these titles don't overlap the image. I think it's a little distracting for them to be actually on top of your work. So I might shrink these a little bit, and then obviously you want the image to be the biggest thing on the screen, but I might shrink the text a little bit and then shrink the image also and have a black bar at the bottom that just says this stuff. You know, in comparison to the image, I don't think these labels need to be this big. If you're submitting for a lighting job, I hope they know that you're responsible for lighting and compositing. So maybe make this a little bit smaller and add it to the very bottom. Shrink the image, or shrink the clip a little bit, so that, you know, you're not putting text over the image. So, you know, like I said, I think this is really strong. A couple of things with this piece, for me, I think, you know, your lighting is coming from, your warm lighting is coming from a lamp off screen, I think, that's supposed to be on the bedside table, and then what I presume is a window on the other side with the cool light coming in, which I think is great. It's a great lighting scheme. The only thing that popped for me was that this gradient on the wall feels a little bit unmotivated by this lamp. You see how, like, it's kind of falling off at the bottom here, and it sort of looks like, you know, you either have a blocker on the light, or the light's coming from down here and falling off radially this way. So, you know, I wonder if you might want to play with making this light on the environment feel a little bit more consistent with what your motivation is here. And, you know, the other thing is that I like this glow out here that's sort of indicating there's light there. I think maybe it's a little too saturated for what we're getting here. So maybe just toning that down just a little bit, because it should be pretty bright over here, and it feels a little bit too saturated there, in my opinion.
What, you think you just...
So I think that should help. One other thing, I think, you know, this is more to do with the staging, I think, but when he stands up, right, like, I think that we want to be looking at her.
To my initial...
But, you know, hopefully this is not just me, but I keep looking here because this texture on his pants is a little too interesting, and it's, you know, quite bright.
Your hand, and that's it.
So, you know, I think maybe playing with this texture, bringing it down, making it less, I think it's a little specky right now. Maybe bringing that down a little bit. Or, you know, you could play with the depth of field.
What, you think you just...
If you rack focus from him to her, if he goes slightly out of focus, even just a little bit, it might help to draw the eye over here.
My initial on your hand, and
just something to think about.
That's it.
I think it's really strong.
Job done.
I really like the setups,
Everything
the two
I'm trying
setups
to
that you
do,
have here,
okay, it
it's
is for us.
challenging
There is
to
no
do a shot
us
like
if you
this
keep shutting
where the camera
me
moves
out.
around and have it be appealing at both the front and the end, and I think you've done a great job. So, good job on that. This one, you know, we kind of talked
So-
about the materials already.
What's
One
the
thing,
story behind this?
just with the skin tone,
That's a
I think, you know, lighting darker skin is challenging because, you know, there's a bunch of papers on why that might be. We've kind of started off in computer graphics lighting to a lighter skin tone, and things have kind of been built around that. So you really have to, you know, take this into account and be more delicate with this stuff. For her, I think one thing that I always try to keep in mind is that, you know, you don't want them to go gray, right?
gift.
I think her skin tone is going gray here, and I see that often on darker skin tones. One thing that might help is sort of warming up her subsurface values and just warming her up in general. You kind of want to feel, you know, this warm transition between the lit part and the shadow part, and just paying attention to that so that she doesn't look so gray, especially when compared to him, he's a little warmer there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. She's almost like feeling a little green here, I think, with the cool light coming in. So just pay attention to that. I think you can either alter her material slightly or in comp warm her up a little bit.
My
Just something good to be aware of. And then yeah, I think, you know, maybe looking into the materials a little bit more. Depth of field here as well. I don't know if I would expect these buildings to be quite this sharp out here. Maybe blurring this out just slightly. You want to be careful because, you know, you don't want to make it look miniature, but you know, something that a real camera would do. I think it wouldn't be quite this sharp. And also I think there's, you know, I see the reference that you're referencing here where the windows are really blown out. And it's a creative choice, I think. I think it's a totally valid choice. I think, you know, for places that I've been, I think we wouldn't like to clip the brights this much. But you are matching the reference, so, you know, if that's something that a director wants or a DP wants, then that's totally valid. Just that I'd bring it up.
It's a gift that I got.
And I like how you've done the dirt on the mirror to make sure it looks like a mirror. I wonder if you could play it up a little bit more on the sides of the mirror, almost like, you know, someone was cleaning it but didn't kind of did a bad job cleaning the sides. Just because, you know, if I'm looking at this quickly, I could see someone not seeing it's a mirror right away, right? And you kind of want like a nice first read on this. So maybe try putting some more dirt and streaks on the side just to sell it a little bit more. But I love the idea you've done. And you did ask a question about this, responsible for layout, lighting, compositing. In my opinion, I think that's good. I think you should list whatever you were actually responsible for on the shot, because, you know, we're only doing lighting and compositing, but I think, you know, you want to show that you have a good eye, right? And if you've done the layout for this, you know, in CG it's a little strange because lighting and layout are two separate things, but in live action it's the same job, right? The cinematographer is doing both and is responsible for the camera and the lighting. So I think it's good to show that you can do both, and at least you have the eye for it. So I don't think that's a problem at all.
My ex.
These pieces I really like. Like I said, I think these are really strong. I think one thing with this one, and maybe this is what you're going for, which is totally valid, but I think it looks a little bit miniature, and I think it's because of the way the depth of field falls off. I think it's, you know, just check that and make sure that, you know, it's right, because it looks like it's a little bit too blurry, and then falls into focus a little bit too quickly, and it makes it look small. So just take a look at that and maybe look at some reference just to match it up a little bit. But I love what you've done with this. I think it's really effective. And I love the night scene as well. I always like seeing these two different lighting scenarios just to see how you treat it. And obviously it's good it's good for you because you don't have to find two different things to model. So I did question a little bit these little sparklies on the snow. I think they can be nice, but it feels a little bit too bright compared to everything else. I wouldn't expect it to be brighter than they're almost as bright as the actual light out here. So if you have control over these sparkles, I'm not sure if it's noise or it's just detail in the snow, I might try to bring these down a little bit. Yeah, I was gonna say, not sure if that's like a reflection from one of your virtual lights or if that's supposed to be the moon, but maybe taking that reflection down a little bit just to draw your eye to the focal point. This one's really cool. I really like it. If I had anything to say, I wonder if getting a nice God ray in the foreground might be cool. But it works as is, I think. So yeah, I like this one a lot. I think that's all I have to say. Great job. I think you're in a really good spot. I think that everything I've said is just improvements to this, but I think it's really strong. So great work. Thank you.